So we'll just be starting now with the dua, please. If you can be seated, and Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سيدي أخرج حب الدنيا من قلبي، واجمع بيني وبين المصطفى وآله خيرتك من خلقك وخاتم النبيين محمد صلى الله عليه وآله، وانقلني إلى درجة التوبة إليك، وأعني بالبكاء على نفسي، فقد أفنيت بالتسويف والآمال عمري، وقد نزلت منزلة الآيسين من خيري، فمن يكون أسوأ حالا مني إن أنا نقلت على مثل حالي إلى قبر لم أمهده لرقدتي، ولم أفرشه بالعمل الصالح لضجعتي، وما لي لا أبكي ولا أدري إلى ما يكون مصيري، وأرى نفسي تخادعني وأيامي تخاتلني، وقد خفقت عند رأسي أجنحة الموت، فما لي لا أبكي لخروج نفسي، أبكي لظلمة قبري، أبكي لضيق لحدي، أبكي لسؤال منكر ونكير إياي، أبكي لخروجي من قبري عريانا ذليلا، حاملا ثقلي على ظهري، أنظر مرة عن يميني وأخرى عن شمالي، إذ الخلائق في شأن غير شأني، لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه، وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة، ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة وذلة. سيدي عليك معولي ومعتمدي ورجائي وتوكلي، وبرحمتك تعلقي، تصيب برحمتك من تشاء وتهدي بكرامتك من تحب، فلك الحمد على ما نقيت من الشرك قلبي، ولك الحمد على بسط لساني، أفبلساني هذا الكال أشكرك، أم بغاية جهدي في عملي أرضيك، وما قدر لساني يا ربي في جنبي شكرك، وما قدر عملي في جنبي نعمك وإحسانك. إلهي إن جودك بسط أملي وشكرك قبل عملي، سيدي إليك رغبتي وإليك رهبتي وإليك تأميلي، وقد ساقني إليك أملي، وعليك يا واحدي عكفت همتي، وفيما عندك انبسطت رغبتي، ولك خالص رجائي وخوفي، وبك أنست محبتي، وإليك ألقيت بيدي، وبحبل طاعتك مددت رهبتي. يا مولاي بذكرك عاش قلبي، وبمناجاتك بردت ألم الخوف عني، فيا مولاي ويا مؤملي ويا منتهى سؤلي، فرق بيني وبين ذنبي المانع لي من لزوم طاعتك، فإنما أسألك لقديم الرجاء فيك وعظيم الطمع منك الذي أوجبته على نفسك من الرأفة والرحمة، فالأمر لك وحدك لا شريك لك، والخلق كلهم عيالك وفي قبضتك، وكل شيء خاضع لك، تباركت يا رب العالمين. إلهي ارحمني إذا انقطعت حجتي، وكل عن جوابك لساني، وطاش عند سؤالك إياي لبي، فيا عظيم رجائي لا تخيبني إذا اشتدت فاقتي، ولا تردني لجهلي، ولا تمنعني لقلة صبري، أعطني لفقري وارحمني لضعفي، سيدي عليك معتمدي ومعولي، ورجائي وتوكلي، وبرحمتك تعلقي، وبفنائك أحط رحلي، وبجودك أقصد طلبتي، وبكرمك أي رب أستفتح دعائي، ولديك أرجو فاقتي، وبغناك أجبر عيلتي، وتحت ظل عفوك قيامي، وإلى جودك وكرمك أرفع بصري، وإلى معروفك أديم نظري، فلا تحرقني بالنار وأنت موضع أملي، ولا تسكنني الهاوية فإنك قرة عيني، يا سيدي لا تكذب ظني بإحسانك ومعروفك، فإنك ثقتي، ولا تحرمني ثوابك فإنك العارف بفقري. إلهي إن كان قد دنا أجلي ولم يقربني منك عملي، فقد جعلت الاعتراف بذنبي وسائل عللي. إلهي إن عفوت فمن أولى منك بالعفو، وإن عذبت فمن أعدل منك في الحكم. ارحم في هذه الدنيا غربتي، وعند الموت كربتي، وفي القبر وحدتي، وفي اللحد وحشتي، وإذا نشرت للحساب بين يديك ذل موقفي. واغفر لي ما خفي على الآدميين من عملي، وأدم لي ما به سترتني، وارحمني صريعا على الفراش تقلبني أيدي أحبتي، وتفضل علي ممدودا على المغتسل يقلبني صالح جيرتي، وتحنن علي محمولا قد تناول الأقرباء وأطراف جنازتي، وجد علي منقولا قد نزلت بك وحيدا في حفرتي، وارحم في ذلك البيت الجديد غربتي، حتى لا أستأنس بغيرك. يا سيدي إن وكلتني إلى نفسي هلكت، سيدي فبمن أستغيث إن لم تقلني عثرتي، فإلى من أفزع إن فقدت عنايتك في ضجعتي، وإلى من ألتجئ إن لم تنفس كربتي. سيدي من لي ومن يرحمني إن لم ترحمني، وفضل من أؤمل إن عدمت فضلك يوم فاقتي. وإلى من الفرار من الذنوب إذا انقضى أجلي. سيدي لا تعذبني وأنا أرجوك، إلهي حقق رجائي وآمن خوفي، فإن كثرة ذنوبي لا أرجو فيها إلا عفوك. سيدي أنا أسألك ما لا أستحق، وأنت أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة، فاغفر لي وألبسني من نظرك ثوبا يغطي علي التبعات وتغفرها لي، ولا أطالب بها، إنك ذو من قديم وصفح عظيم وتجاوز كريم. إلهي أنت الذي تفيض سيبك على من لا يسألك، وعلى الجاحدين بربوبيتك، فكيف سيدي بمن سألك وأيقن أن الخلق لك والأمر إليك؟ تباركت وتعاليت يا رب العالمين. سيدي عبدك ببابك أقامته الخصاصة بين يديك، يقرع باب إحسانك بدعائه، فلا تعرض بوجهك الكريم عني، واقبل مني ما أقول، فقد دعوت بهذا الدعاء وأنا أرجو ألا تردني، معرفة مني برأفتك ورحمتك. إلهي أنت الذي لا يحفيك سائل ولا ينقصك نائل، أنت كما تقول وفوق ما نقول. اللهم إني أسألك صبرا جميلا وفرجا قريبا وقولا صادقا وأجرا عظيما. أسألك يا رب من الخير كله ما علمت منه وما لم أعلم. أسألك اللهم من خير ما سألك منه عبادك الصالحون، يا خير من سئل وأجود من أعطى. أعطني سؤلي في نفسي وأهلي ووالدي وولدي وأهل حزانتي وإخواني فيك، وأرغد عيشي وأظهر مروتي، وأصلح جميع أحوالي، واجعلني ممن أطلت عمره وحسنت عمله وأتممت عليه نعمتك ورضيت عنه وأحييته حياة طيبة في أدوم السرور وأسبغ الكرامة وأتم العيش، إنك تفعل ما تشاء ولا يفعل ما يشاء. محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'd like to call on Dr. Peter Rooks to share his Quran reflections.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And it may be that you dislike a thing that is good for you, and you like a thing that is bad for you. How often have we felt Allah drawing us in a particular direction which we have initially resisted because we feel ill-equipped to carry out the task, or it is something else that we preferred to do. This could be something as simple as wanting to watch a big match on TV rather than going out in the community litter pick or helping out in the food bank. One of the best examples, or it could be a bigger task, that Allah has prepared us for, without us necessarily realizing it, except in retrospect. One of the best examples of this was how Allah prepared Musa for leading the enslaved Israelites out of Egypt and receiving the Mosaic law from Allah of how we should live our lives. At a time when Israelite infants were being slaughtered by the Egyptians, Musa was rescued from the River Nile, where he was hidden in a Moses basket by Pharaoh's daughter and brought up in Pharaoh's palace. Then, as an adult, he killed an Egyptian slave maker who was mistreating an Israelite slave, following which he had to flee to Midian, where he settled and married. Imagine Musa's reaction when many years later Allah directed him to return to Egypt and demand that Pharaoh release the Israelites from slavery. Understandably, Musa's reaction was to find excuses. I don't know what to say to Pharaoh. Pharaoh wouldn't listen to me. There are others who could speak more eloquently than me. Musa realized that these were excuses and that he couldn't resist Allah, so he went to Pharaoh, taking his brother Harun for support. After a protracted series of disagreements during which Allah sent the 10 plagues, Musa must have felt very discouraged and on occasions doubted Allah. He must have been very tempted to give the whole thing up and return to his family and his friends in Midian. However, Allah was true to his word and supported Musa and his followers across the Red Sea to Mount Sinai and across the desert, during which time there were many setbacks, but he persisted until he was in sight of the promised land. I'm sure that Musa's experience must have strong resonance with everyone here. There have been many occasions in my life when I have felt the call of Allah. Perhaps two of the most important occasions both occurred while I was living and working in Papua New Guinea. Three, if we count being in PNG in the first place. After arriving in PNG, we went to visit all 30 of our rural hospitals, health centres, and aid posts. And this meant either walking over mountainous terrain or equatorial rainforest, or going by sea in a dinghy, or going by outrigger canoe up rivers. All very, very difficult and challenging. Most of these facilities that we were visiting were in a very bad state of repair and lacking essential equipment. Couldn't even find a thermometer that worked or a blood pressure machine, and demotivated health workers. What could we do in this situation? Why had Allah brought us to such a hopeless situation? Our reaction was that the situation was so hopeless that we should return to the comfort of our own home. However, Allah had a different plan for us, and He had prepared us for it. Prior to this, we ran marathons, we were with the Scouts, and I've been doing community health in the Maldives. The task ahead was daunting, but with Allah's help, not impossible, so we stayed for 8 years. Working with local people, refurbishing health facilities, providing equipment, upskilling health workers, and establishing village health volunteer programs. Most people in Papua New Guinea never see a doctor in their whole life. During these initial visits, we saw widespread drought, crops failing, and dried up water creeks. The government were providing relief to more accessible areas. So the government had a helicopter and they would fly it into a province and they'd drop it down and they'd walk 500 meters radius. And if there was signs of drought, they got help. If there weren't any signs of drought, they didn't get help. So the situation was very different beyond the 500 meters that the government officers were walking. And in the more inaccessible areas where we were working, there were bad signs of drought. So again, Allah was leading us to respond. I've never led a drought relief campaign before. So how did we respond? By setting up drought relief programs, sending rice, canned fish, canned vegetables, water to these remote areas, paid for by funds that we received from Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and UK. So taking photographs of what we were doing was so important and sending them back to the donors. We had sufficient funds at the end of the drought to provide seeds, fertilizer, and establish a program to help villagers construct their own water systems. So we recruited a water engineer from Kenya who came to help us with the technical part. But the important thing was that the local people built these water systems themselves so that they knew how they worked and could repair them. Allah had not yet finished with us. The following year, there was a tsunami with thousands of coastal villagers and their homes being swept away. So we were sent to help with the relief program, but that is a story for another day. In conclusion, when we are doing the work that Allah has planned for us, however difficult it is, however impossible it seems, Allah will give us the strength, the know-how, and the resources to carry it out. We just need to have faith in Allah.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks, for your inspiring reflection. I just have some quick reminders. Toilet and baby changing facilities are on the first floor. Please ask volunteers if you need lift access. And please make sure children are accompanied by adults. The conference room is available for parents with young children. Now I would like to invite Sheikh Hobbollah to deliver his talk.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so tall. That's it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Our discussion today will focus on certain aspects of Surah Al-Qadr, inshallah, as it is difficult to cover all topics in this surah. Therefore, I will briefly, inshallah, address two main points. If I have time, I don't know. Maybe we will cover just the first one. How can we reconcile the revelation of the Quran on the night of Qadr with the fact that the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years and that the Prophet's mission began on the 27th of Rajab? The second question is there truly a connection between the night of Qadr and the infallible Imam? I'll try to give a summary or brief about some theories that it's very common between scholars, and you can think about these topics. So let's start with the relationship between the night of Qadr, the prophetic mission, al-Ba'thah, and the revelation of the Quran. The main issue here revolves around two questions. The first question is, if the Quran was revealed on the night of Qadr, this implies that the Prophet was commissioned on that night. That's the meaning. Since the revelation of the first verses of Surah Al-Alaq marked the beginning of his mission, how then can the Quran be said to have been revealed on the night of Qadr in Ramadan while the prophetic mission, al-Bi'tha, took place in Rajab? This is the first question. The second question is, what does it mean for the Quran to have been revealed on the night of Qadr when it was actually revealed over a period of 23 years? The Quran was revealed on the night of Al-Qadr as well as in the month of Sha'ban, Rabi' al-Awwal, Rajab, and other months. Every month, some verses of the Quran were revealed over 23 years. Why then does the Quran state that it was revealed on the night of Qadr, as if no revelation occurred outside that night? We know that revelation came to the Prophet on multiple days throughout the year, not just on the night of Qadr. So why does the Quran specify that it was revealed on their particular night? So what does that mean? So maybe إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ 27th of Rajab. No, there's no difference. So for the first question, there is no fundamental problem concerning the first question for Sunni scholars. First question. As the majority of them believe that the Prophet's mission took place in Ramadan, not in Rajab. Although there are about 3 weak reports suggesting it occurred in Rajab, these are attributed to some Sunni scholars. However, since the vast majority of Sunnis mention that the mission began in Ramadan, they do not face any need to reconcile the revelation of the Quran in Ramadan with the mission in Rajab, because they don't believe in Rajab. Nothing happened in Rajab for them. Some of them also believe, Sunnis, some of them also believe that what occurred in Rajab was the Isra and the Mi'raj, not the beginning of the mission. It seems that some people may have confused the two events, assuming that the Isra and Mi'raj were the same as the prophetic mission, thus attributing the mission to Rajab This is the general Sunni perspective. So they have nothing with Rajab, both Rajab and Ramadan, because the mission start al-bi'tha, start in Ramadan, and inna anzalnahu in Ramadan. There's no problem for the first question. As for the 12er Shia, the majority of their narrations, approximately 10 reports, affirm that the 27th of Rajab is the day of the prophetic mission, al-bi'tha. For this reason, they mention certain recommended acts on this day, Yawm al-bi'tha, such as fasting. Based on this belief, the question about the difference between the day of the mission and the day of the Qur'an's revelation arises for them. Thus, the first question is more of a Shia concern than the Sunni one. However, the second question regarding the revelation on the night of Qadr, while also spanning 23 years, is a concern shared by both Sunnis and Shias. So let's start with the first perspective. On this topic, both the question number 1 and number 2, on this topic there are multiple perspectives. I will just want to mention 2 very famous opinions. First perspective. This view holds that the Quran was revealed in 2 phases. We don't have just one revelation for the Quran, we have 2 revelations. The first phase was a complete one-time revelation. The second phase was a gradual revelation over 23 years. According to this perspective, the gradual revelation began on the day of Bi'tha in Rajab, while the one-time revelation occurred on the night of Qadr. This explanation aims to resolve the issue entirely. So what happened in Laylatul Qadr is one-time revelation. The whole Quran came down. But what happened in 27th of Rajab is gradual revelation. Part of Surah Al-Alaq, then in Sha'ban something else, then in, that's it. However, those who support this idea differ in its detail, leading to 3 main opinions. So I can understand the gradual revelation for the Quran. It's all of us, we can understand it. But the first revelation, one-time revelation, so the Quran came from God to where? What does that mean? So we have 3 opinions here. Many opinions, but I will mention just 3 opinions. The first opinion, the Quran was revealed in one instance to Al-Baytul Ma'mur. This is a very important idea in theology, Islamic theology. Some believe that on the night of Qadr, the Quran was sent down in its entirety to the Al-Baytul Ma'mur, which is said to be located in either the first, we have different ideas, first, third, fourth, sixth, or 7th heaven, or even above the 7th heaven. From there, it was gradually revealed to the earth. So the first time came from God to Al-Baytul Ma'mur, for example, in the 6th heaven. Then in Rajab comes down. At this point, it is worth examining the concept of Al-Baytul Ma'mur. What does that mean? What's the meaning of Al-Baytul Ma'mur? The Quran mentions Al-Baytul Ma'mur, and it is very likely referring to the Kaaba. This is the Baytul Ma'mur, means Kaaba, Al-Kaaba, Al-Masjid Al-Haram in Mecca, which was known as a frequented or inhabited house in Arab culture, and even in Islamic culture. The Kaaba is also called Al-Baytul Atiq in Quran, the ancient house, and is described as frequented because it is continuously visited by Hujjaj, by worshippers, and others. So this is from Ilm al-Tafsir. They said Al-Baytul Ma'mur is Al-Kaaba. But now we have another idea, said no, Al-Baytul Ma'mur is something else. However, some Islamic narrations attributed to certain companions and early scholars from At-Tabi'een suggest that Al-Baytul Ma'mur is a celestial house parallel to the Kaaba, located in one of the heavens. So we have Kaaba, and we have parallel to the Kaaba, we have Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur in one of the heavens. And this is very important. These narrations also claim that it is superior to the Kaaba at that angels perform tawaf around it in a great numbers. So it looks like we have another Kaaba in heaven, and it's more important than this Kaaba. This is the idea. More important than this Kaaba, and the Malaika, the angels, doing tawaf there. And the Quran came down to this Kaaba in the heaven. This is Bayt al-Ma'mur. Then in 27th Rajab, start the Bi'tha. This idea gave rise to the notion of a celestial house with this name, and subsequently the belief that the Quran's one-time revelation was to this celestial house. One of the most prominent narrators who spoke about Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur was Abu Hurairah. Later, the concept was introduced into Shia tradition, most likely through Sheikh al-Saduq, passed away in 300. Sheikh al-Kulayni passed away 329 after Hijrah, and Sheikh al-Saduq, who passed away in 381 after Hijrah. Both scholars transmitted a narration from Al-Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq in Al-Kafi from Kulayni and Al-Amali from Al-Saduq that includes the idea of Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur and suggests that the Quran was first revealed there in Laylatul Qadr. Moreover, Al-Saduq explicitly endorsed this belief in his works, stating that the Quran was first sent down to Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, and from there it descended gradually to earth over 20 years, starting from Al-Bi'tha in Rajab. So this is the idea now. For this reason, Sheikh al-Mufid, who passed away in 413 after Hijrah, criticized this notion, rejecting it outright. He argued that As-Saduq relied on a single narration, which was weak and unreliable. Despite this criticism, the idea persisted and reappeared in the works of Sheikh al-Tusi later, and remains in circulation to this day between Shia, not just between Sunnah. So Sheikh al-Mufid couldn't stop this idea. It is also worth noting that the narration cited by As-Saduq from Imam al-Sadiq is considered weak in terms of its chain of transmission. In any case, this is the first opinion regarding the location of the Quran's one-time revelation in Laylat al-Qadr, namely Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur. This is the first one. The second one, the Quran was revealed in one instance to the lowest heaven, al-Sama'u ad-Dunya. According to a narration from Ibn Abbas, the Quran was revealed in its entirety on the night of Qadr to the lowest heaven. From there, it was gradually revealed over 23 years, beginning on the day of the Bi'tha in 27th Rajab. This is the second opinion. The third one, the Quran was revealed in Laylat al-Qadr in a summary form to the Prophet's heart, not Bayt al-Ma'mur, not lowest heaven. A group of scholars, among them Al-Allama al-Tabatabai rahimahullah, believe that the Quran was revealed in its entirety, but only in a summary or general form to the heart of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. According to this view, there is a distinction between inzal, the word inzal in Arabic, inzalul Quran, inzal, and tanzil. They argue that inzal refers to one-time revelation of the Quran in its entirety on the Prophet's heart during the night of Qadr. Inna anzalnahu. Doesn't say inna nazzalnahu. So inzal, it's one time. Allama Tabatabai said. While tanzil refers to its gradual revelation over time beginning in Rajab. Tabatabai bases this idea on the linguistic distinction between the two terms, emphasizing that inzal implies a complete one-time descent, while tanzil shows step-by-step revelation. However, other scholars such as Sheikh al-Mufid, Sayyid Muhammad Hussein Fadlullah, Sheikh Salihi Najaf Abadi, and other scholars reject the notion of two separate revelations of the Quran. We don't have Bayt al-Ma'mur or heart of Prophet's heart, one revelation, or the whole Quran, and the second one started from Rajab. We don't have all these things. They argue that the idea of an instantaneous revelation is based on weak narrations. Additionally, they assert that the claim that the Quran was revealed to the Prophet's heart is mere speculation, and that the supposed distinction between inzal and tanzil has no solid basis in Arabic linguistics. In Arabic, inzal does not necessarily mean an instantaneous revelation, nor does tanzil necessarily indicate a gradual one. So this is the first perspective. We have two revelations for the Quran. The first one is the whole Quran, and the second one gradually. The first one from God to Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, or from God to the lowest heaven, or from God to the heart of Prophet Muhammad. And the second, this is what happened in Laylatul Qadr. And the second one is from Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, or from the lowest heaven, or the next one, the second revelation in 27th of Rajab, gradually. This is the whole idea for the first perspective. The second perspective, this perspective asserts that the Quran was indeed revealed on the night of Qadr, marking its very first descent. Supporters of this view rely on the Quran itself for evidence. By comparing different verses, they conclude that the Quran explicitly states its revelation on a specific night, which is Laylatul Qadr. So what about Laylatul Qadr and two revelation? As for the concept of a one-time revelation, this view denies its existence. They said there is no one-time revelation. Like Moses, like Jesus, like all the prophets, we don't have one-time revelation. They argue that when the Quran states that it was revealed on the night of Qadr, it does not mean that the entire Quran was sent down all at once. It means that the process of revelation began on this night. That's it. An analogy can be drawn to a historical event. If one says on 10th 2000, Egypt supplied Jordan with gas, it does not mean that all the gas was delivered on that exact day. Instead, it signifies that the supply process started on that day. Similarly, the revelation of the Quran commenced on the night of Qadr, but it continued gradually over time. So what about 27th of Rajab? How can they explain 27th of Rajab? What's the meaning of 27th of Rajab? About the Mab'ath, 27th of Rajab, they said we can explain it in two ways. The first way, the difference, this is very important in theology, the difference between al-Mab'ath and the revelation of the Quran is that al-Mab'ath refers to the moment when the Prophet was officially sent to convey the message to the people. This is the Mab'ath. I sent him, go to people. It is possible that divine revelation had descended upon the Prophet before this. but he was not yet instructed to deliver a message to humanity, that command may have come at a later stage. So in Laylatul Qadr, start the revelation. But at that time, Prophet Muhammad, God didn't say to Prophet Muhammad, go and try to lead people or take this message to people. That happened later in Rajab. So we have a time between start revelation of the Quran and asking Prophet Muhammad to go speak with people. This idea may seem strange to some people, as they assume that receiving divine revelation automatically means that a person has been sent as a messenger to the people. However, this is not necessarily the case. Revelation may descend upon a person without them being a Rasul or even a Nabi tasked with a mission. An example for this is Lady Mary, who received divine revelation but was not a prophet or messenger. Therefore, the mere fact that revelation descends upon someone does not mean that they have been appointed to deliver a divine message. This is the first solution for them. The second one, they said, why we need to believe in 27th of Rajab? All these riwayat, all these narrations are weak. Done. So there is no need to reconcile between 27th of Rajab and... So the conclusion for this perspective, they said the Quran explicitly states that it was revealed in the month of Ramadan and on the night of Qadr, not in Rajab. Therefore, we adhere to what the Quran affirms and believe that its gradual revelation began in Ramadan, with no other form of revelation preceding it. At most, one could say that the revelation of the Quran began in Ramadan while the Prophet was commanded to publicly call people to Islam in Rajab. This is the summary of their idea. So this is the first step. So we have, now we can understand one-time revelation, gradual revelation. We can understand 27th of Rajab. We can understand Laylatul Qadr. What does that mean? So I think we don't have time for the second one, which is very Shi'i. I don't know if we have time. So we can speak later about that. I think we have time? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the next topic is the relationship between the night of Qadr and the Imam, infallible Imam. It was widely believed in Shia circles, especially in the contemporary times, that on the night of Qadr, hosts of angels descend upon the infallible Imam, continuing until dawn. These angels inform him, the Imam, of all divine decisions concerning the universe and existence, making him, it's very important, making him a central figure on the governance of the world's affairs. According to this view, the essence and mystery of the Laylatul Qadr revolve around the infallible Imam. This understanding reinterprets the concept of the night of Qadr through the lens of Shia theological principles, intertwining the doctrine of the Imam's knowledge of the unseen with the theory of al-wilayat takwiniya, that the Imam has the authority of the world. So God sends the angels to him that now he knows what should do with this world, not with people, with the world, the whole world. So then from that, he can start governing the world for the second year. And next year, the same thing will happen. Due to this belief, some Shia texts even refer the Surah Al-Qadr, it has another name in the Shia theology, in the Shia hadith. Due to this belief, some Shia texts even refer to Surah Al-Qadr as Surah Al-Wilaya, the chapter of divine authority. Surah Al-Imama, Surah Al-Wilaya. Why? Because of this idea. Because what happened in Laylatul Qadr, not just doing dua and God will accept. No, the most important thing is God sent the malaika to the infallible Imam, the least, start governing the world for the next year. This is the idea. The key question here, where did this interpretation originate? How was this connection between the night of Qadr and the doctrine of imamate established? The answer is, this understanding is based on a collection of narrations attributed to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. In Usul al-Kafi, a foundational Shia hadith compilation by Sheikh al-Kulayni, there is an entire chapter dedicated to this topic under the title regarding the meaning of Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr and its interpretation. This is the title of the chapter in Al-Kafi. This chapter presents a series of narrations suggesting that night of Qadr serves as proof of imamate. The reasoning behind this claim is as follows. If the night of Qadr is recurring, happening every year, and not a singular night that occurred only during the Prophet's lifetime, as many Sunni scholars believe, then it implies that each year there must be a person upon whom divine revelation descends, just as it did upon the Messenger of Allah. According to this interpretation, the only figure who can fulfill this rule is the infallible Imam, especially Al-Imam Al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Based on this reasoning, the belief in a firm and inseparable connection between the night of Qadr and the infallible Imam, particularly Imam Al-Mahdi, became widely accepted within Shia thought. One of these narrations is reported from Al-Imam Al-Baqir, who said, "O Shia community, argue using the chapter Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr, and you will be tuflihun, victorious. By Allah, it is Allah's proof over creation after the Messenger of Allah. It is the supreme authority of your religion, and it is the ultimate extent of our knowledge, O Shia community." This hadith in Al-Kafi. Let us pause. What happened? Oh, I forgot to. Okay. Oh, no. So I will just mention some criticisms that some of the scholars they have here. Let us pause here for a moment. Upon reviewing these narrations in Al-Kafi and comparing them with other reports from different sources, an important observation arises in the field of hadith studies. Many of these narrations contain recurring names in their chains of transmission. The most prominent among them are two individuals, Al-Hasan ibn Al-Abbas ibn Al-Harish, Ahmad ibn Muhammad Al-Sayyari. The majority of these narrations mention the relationship between Laylatul Qadr and Imam from these two individuals. When we examine the historical accounts of these two narrators, we find that both were among the most extreme ghulat throughout history and were accused of fabrication. Sheikh al-Tusi radwanullahi alayh states, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Sayyar, also known as As-Sayyari, is weak in hadith, corrupt in doctrine, abundant in transmission, and frequently transmits disconnected reports. Similarly, as Sheikh al-Najashi radwanullahi alayh said, Al-Hasan ibn Abbas ibn Al-Harish is extremely weak. He authored a book titled Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, which is a poorly narrated and linguistically incoherent text. Therefore, it is rarely found a narration on this subject that is not transmitted by one of these two individuals. In Al-Kafi, in the chapter mentioned earlier, Al-Kulayni records 9 narrations, all of which come from one person, Ibn al-Harish. And perhaps this reinforces the idea that Al-Kulayni did not find narrations related to this concept except from this extremist man. Maybe. All right, let's set aside the chains of transmission of these narrations and focus on the idea they present. Is it necessary, correct? Does the Quran support it? In other words, let's critically examine the content of these narrations and their reasoning behind this concept. So we have Laylatul Qadr in Surah Al-Qadr and in Surah Al-Dukhan, as you know. Surah Al-Qadr and Surah Al-Dukhan and similar verses indicate that the angels and the spirit descend on the night of Qadr. That's it. However, they do not state that these angels meet any of the infallibles or descend upon them, including the messenger of Allah, Prophet Muhammad, except for the revelation of the Quran. That exception. The verses simply describe this night as one filled with divine decrees and decisive matters. But this does not mean that everything determined or revealed that night is necessarily related to the Prophet, apart from the revelation of the Holy Quran. Perhaps this descent has other purposes unknown for us. So what is the basis for linking this descent to the presence of an infallible Imam? And why assume that this descent specifically occurs upon the infallible? So this is God sends the Malaika just to start the next year, governing the world for the next year with the least what they should do. That's it. Why you need to assume that there is someone called Al-Imam and the Malaika came to him and he has to start the governing of the world for the next year? And finally, one might argue that the phrase Salamun hiya hatta matla'i al-fajr, peace it is until the emergence of dawn. Maybe someone would say that this verse implies that peace is conveyed to a specific person. Salamun hiya. So there is Salamu alaykum. So there is someone, Malaika, speak to him and say Salamun alaykum. As if the angels descend in successive groups to greet the infallible Imam until dawn. So what's the meaning of Salamun hiya hatta matla' fajr? Salamun alaykum to the Imam. Because I haven't heard Salamun alaykum for me, for example. So that must be the Imam. However, this interpretation from this perspective is incorrect. In Arabic, the word salam means safety and absence of harm. This night is one of peace, in which God grants his servants security through the decrees he sends down to organize their affairs for the coming year. It signifies that whatever is decided for them is for their ultimate benefit. There is no linguistic basis to suggest that this verse implies a greeting being given to a particular person, even if this wise Imam, maybe for all believers. And the Malaika said, Salamun alaykum for all believers. So thus, it can be said that the idea of linking the night of Qadr to the Imam originates from narrations rather than from the Quran itself. Moreover, these narrations from this side have issues with their sources, chain, as their primary transmitter is the book Inna Anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr by Ibn al-Harish, a figure accused of fabrication, weak narration, and inconsistency. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh, for the enlightening talk on the different perspectives of Surah Qadr. Now it's time for Q&A. Please feel free to ask any questions for Sheikh to answer.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. In the early parts of it, you were explaining the idea that anzala would mean in one go, and so inzal in one go and tanzil tadrijiyan. And Al-Allama had that, supported that idea as well. In your experience and knowledge, in the classical Arabic and even in modern Arabic, how much precedent does that hold that those verbs on Bab al-If'al have in one go and taf'il is tadrijiyan? Even if we say akhraja and kharraja, albasa and labbasa, do they have the similar meaning as well, or it doesn't support that?
Thank you. Yes, there are some evidences from Al-Allama al-Tabatabai support his view. But they said, another perspective, they said that we can use the sighat nazzala fa'ala and sighat anzala af'ala in the opposite way. That doesn't mean something like it's 100%. So another thing, they said, even anzalnahu, it's one time. They said anzalnahu means starting the revelation. And starting the revelation is one time. Not anzalnahu, the whole Quran. So the problem is not just in anzala. It's in the maf'ul in Arabic. What is that? You say anzal Allahu al-Quran. If the whole Quran, yes. So the idea of Allama Tabatabai will be maybe justified. But if they say the beginning of the Quran, has no meaning.
Assalamu alaikum, thank you so much. For those scholars that believe in the idea that the Quran was revealed all at once to the heart of the Prophet, even if in summary form, I was interested at what time, in which year did this happen? For example, did it happen when he was 39 years old and then the next Rajab, the Mab'ath began? Or at a time when he was a child, for example? Thank you.
No, they said that happened when he was in his 40 year. So that's it. So they say a few months before Mab'ath, nothing before. That's it. So with this idea, we need to change the image of what happened in history for the first revelation. So Surah Al-Alaq, and Prophet came from Ghar Hira to Sayyidah Khadija, and that happened. And so maybe we need to criticize this historical event evidences, maybe to solve the problem here. But they said no. This the starting of his nubuwah, not his risala, not his mission.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We have two verses, right? Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. And we also have Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah. Two verses. Ahsantum. Neither of these verses say that it is the Quran that is sent down. It is saying anzalnahu. It is a dhamir. The assumption within the scholars is that this who, this it, refers to the Quran. Correct? But you know better than I do that this is an assumption we are imposing on the reading of this verse. It could mean he sent him down as well. Are there any scholars who interpret these ayat to refer to something other than the Quran? Because there is an indication in Surah Al-Qadr, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ, and then it goes on to say, مِن كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. So what may be coming down is not the Quran, but amr of something. if you could elaborate if this is...
They said in Surah Al-Dukhan, Hamim wal kitab al-mubin inna anzalnahu. So we have the damir hu, inna anzalnahu. And we have what we call in Arabic marja'u damir. So we have here wal kitab al-mubin inna anzalnahu. They said al-kitab al-mubin here means al-Quran. Yeah. So because of this, they said, otherwise we don't have Quranical analysis, we don't have any evidence without this verse that shows that inna anzalnahu means the Quran. This is the first thing. The second thing, you know, Ibn Arabi and some of the Urafa, they said Laylat al-Qadr is not in Ramadan necessarily. At that time, when the Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad, Laylat al-Qadr was in Ramadan, but maybe next year Laylat al-Qadr in Sha'ban. There is a Laylatul Qadr in the year, but sometimes you can find it in Ramadan, sometimes in Sha'ban, sometimes in Rabi' al-Awwal. At that time, when the Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad, Laylatul Qadr was in Ramadan. So because of this, they said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. And they compared شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن with والكتاب المبين إن أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة with إن أنزلناه. So they said that the three verses give us that the Al-Quran came down to Laylatul Qadr, in Laylatul Qadr, and Laylatul Qadr was in Ramadan at that time. Otherwise, without Wal Kitab al-Mubin, there's no evidence from the Quran itself that the Anzalnahu, the Damir Anzalnahu, especially in Surah Al-Qadr, because there's nothing before Inna Anzalnahu. Start with Inna Anzalnahu. Anzal to what? So we don't have any evidence, just this Wal Kitab al-Mubin. But from the hadith, yes, many hadith from Sunni and Shia side. Yeah, because the word kitab in the Quran has different meaning. Yeah. Yeah. Ahsan.
Sorry, I'm putting my veto here. So, Sheikh, if I understood you, the different perspective that you explained, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that if we say that the revelation of the Quran started on the night of Qadr, if you were to go with that opinion, so that would be kind of a one-off, so that's a beginning point, as opposed to some opinion. I remember when we were studying Ulumul Quran being told that some views were that the Quran was being revealed every year, to the Prophet on the night of Qadr, as well as, gradually. So if you were to go with the opinion that it was just Qadr was the starting point of the revelation, then the second question you brought about the link with Surah Qadr and the 12th Imam would then become redundant, because it's not something that's happening every year. And also, if somebody was of the opinion that the Mahdi is still yet to be born, then again that question would be irrelevant. So if you can expand on that, and I'd be interested in knowing what, from your personal research, what your opinion on the matter is and what conclusions you've come to. Thank you.
Look, Laylatul Qadr, it doesn't mean it's just for the Quran. We have Laylatul Qadr maybe from the beginning of this world. But the Quran, when it's revealed, in Laylatul Qadr. So maybe we thought that the Quran and Laylatul Qadr is something, we don't have Laylatul Qadr without the Quran, we don't have Quran without Laylatul Qadr. No, Laylatul Qadr can be still happen every year, even if I believe that the Quran starts its revelation in Laylatul Qadr. So there is no problematic thing here. So the Quran starts its revelation in Laylatul Qadr, because it's very important Layla every year, and still continue every year we have Laylatul Qadr. And then they said, because we have every year Laylatul Qadr, must be infallible Imam, that can the Ruh and Al-Malaik come down to give salam to him or to give the least of orders from God to him. No, from this perspective, they said the angels every year they come to the imam and give him the orders and speak to him, and this is his night. And from this perspective, these narrations, the night of Laylatul Qadr is the night of the imamah, not what we think now. We think now like the night of Qadr is for all people. But from this perspective, no, it's beginning with the imamah, then from the imamah, we can start speaking about the benefits of Laylatul Qadr for all people. This is their idea.
Thank you very much. A simple question. The word Amr is used here. Min kulli Amr. Amr means there is some recipient for that. Amr, if there is no recipient, Amr has no meaning, right? According to the narration, if it is not Imam, it could be any other believer, right? If there is any believer, the Amr come to them, there should be some indication or sign. And we are very much knowing ourselves, there is no indication on us. So we should believe logically that the Amr is coming to someone, at least that we are not including in them. So it's logically referred to someone else. And I believe that should be Imam, right?
Ahsan. So the al-malaika come down min kulli amr. They have orders. So I will give you another scenario. So try to understand the this verse of the Quran with this scenario. God in Laylatul Qadr asks all the malaika, come here, and gives this malak, this is your order for next year, this is your order for next year, this is your amr for next year, and this is your amr for next year. Go. And they comes down. And they start working. So تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. Min here means بكل أمر. So they have order with their. They have the orders for the next year. So now they start a new job. Let's say a new job. They have a new contract for the next year. So what's the problem? Yeah.
Thank you, Sheikh, for answering all the Q&A questions. This year, Time for Change is supporting Oasis Aid and Ayman Yaqub Foundation to help people in Gaza with essential food and medical supplies. You can donate to this charity by bank transfer or on the Just Giving link shared on our WhatsApp group. We are still in need of your kind contributions to cover the costs of our last few iftars. You can donate at the desk outside by using the QR code or on the link shared by the group. Time for Change would like to ask children who have attended Time for Learning this Ramadan to present what they have learnt about the Asma al-Husna on Friday the 28th of March at our last program. If your children would like to take part, please give your name to Salma Hasnali. Today is the deadline. Next program is tomorrow, Saturday, starting with Maghrib at 6:35 p.m, followed by Iftar in the main program. Talk will be delivered by Dr. Munzila Raza. After the main program tomorrow, there'll be a Laylatul Qadr spiritual night at 9:15, followed by a Quran discussion circle on the topic of trust, led by Dr. Shahid Morali at 10:30 p.m. Please see posters for full details. To end, please recite a Surah Fatiha for all of those suffering in the world, Marhameen whose names will be on the screen, and all Marhameen al-Fatiha.